Hi everyone, it's Selena again and thanks for watching. This is day 2 in my video reading challenge thing that I'm doing. So I'm trying to do the hashtag reading after 10 that Ariel Bissett started, and I'll leave a link to that video below so that if you want to become a part of it, you can definitely do that. And I am also trying to create a video every day to kind of chronicle my progress through the books that I'm reading. So my last video, I shared with you the 3 books that I'm going to try to read this month. And so today I'm going to talk mostly about Lovecraft Country, which is the book that seems to be grabbing my attention right now of the 3. And I will share with you some of the annotations that I've written and the thoughts that I've had while reading this book so far. So just heads up, I am not, well, let me say it again. I have not read as much as I would have liked. Last night was pretty rough. So in the daytime, I'm a teacher. I teach high school English, 11th grade mostly, and then I have one section of senior English. That's a dual credit class. And so I was doing some preparation. Whoa, I'm having a hard time talking. I've been doing some preparation for those classes last night, and I was preparing up until about 9. And so that was a lot. And so once I finished doing that, I did some adulting things and did laundry. And then by the time I got into bed, it was about 10:20. And then I tried to read as much as I could. I got about 10 more pages read. And then I did read like 3 pages in The Wind-Up Girl, but it's not even worth mentioning, so I'm not even going to share my thoughts. Maybe tomorrow I will have read more in The Wind-Up Girl. But today I'm going to talk about Lovecraft Country, which I am really enjoying. Again, this book is grabbing my attention in a way that I did not think it was going to, but I'm glad that it is. It's a great experience. I'm actually going to link down below also a video that Vox has made about the Green Book, and a video by a lay historian. I forget his name, but his YouTube channel I believe is called US 101, and I'll link his video below too. It is going to talk a little bit about the Green Book, the creator of the Green Book, and the history behind that, because the Green Book is the source material that the author is using to do this mashup of history and science fiction. In the book Lovecraft Country, the book's title is The Safe Negro Travel Guide, but it's basically the Green Book, which in our real history was used by African Americans to travel safely across the country during the 30s, 40s, 50s, and even into the early part of the 1960s. So I will leave links to those below if you want to know more about the Green Book. It's a fascinating piece of our American history that I think very few people are completely aware of. One thing that I did not think of or did not realize until after learning about the Green Book was that I believe my dad used to tell us when we first started driving to always go to mobile gas stations. Never really quite explained why. He just said that we should always get our gas from mobile gas stations. And so after watching the video, the Vox video in particular, I called him up and asked why he said that we should always get our gas from mobile. And he said that he thinks he had been told that by his stepfather. And so I think that that's just a piece of residual cultural history that just has been passed down to me without real context. But once I learned the history, I was able to then kind of backtrack and say, hey, why? So if you watch the video, you'll find out why Mobil was probably the gas station that most African Americans went to. So that is my connection to the Green Book. It's been many decades since that book has been out of print, but its effects is still long-reaching. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is go through my annotations. So I've been writing in the book and kind of keeping a written account of my thinking as I'm going through this story, and so I'll share a few of those with you aloud. I'll be reading a little bit from the book and then telling you what I thought as I was reading. So the first section I'm going to look at comes from page 4, and here's the passage. He went back into the car In the trunk beside the useless spare was a cardboard box filled with battered paperbacks. Atticus, and Atticus is the main character of the story, Atticus selected a copy of Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. He sat in the Cadillac and read about the rocket summer of 1999, when winter snows were melted by the exhaust from a Mars-bound spacecraft. He imagined himself aboard, rising into the sky on a jet of fire, leaving North and South behind forever. So at this point, I wrote in the margins how I really enjoyed the Martian Chronicles. I have a copy of it on my shelf. I used to teach it when I used to teach middle school. I taught a particular story out of that called Dark They Were and Golden-Eyed. I think he renamed it later to The Naming of Names. But when I taught it as Dark They Were and Golden-Eyed, and it's about the human settlement on Mars and what happens to those humans on Mars. But just thinking about it now, I don't even remember if there were any POCs or African Americans in Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles, and to think of the rocket summer of 1999 and that there was no thought of POCs existing in that future world, and here we are in 2018. It's a bit disturbing, and disturbing on a couple levels. The most disturbing part of it was that I did not even think about it. I read these stories because I'm a fan of science fiction. I taught these stories because they're well written, but I didn't stop to think, am I being represented? Do people see me as a person that can live, thrive, and survive in the future? So that was something. Let's move on to another annotation. So on page 13, I commented, I'm not going to read that section, but I commented on how just like Atticus's father didn't censor him as a child in reading, that kind of gave him the motivation to become a voracious reader because he had all these options available to him. Similarly, my father didn't seem to censor me too much when it came to reading, and was always available to talk to me about the things that I read, and even encouraged me to read. And I do credit my love of reading in part to my dad, who just kind of always encouraged me to read books and discuss books with me. The next and last thing I'm going to mention, it comes on page 19, and I'll read this section. The agency would book trips and tickets for anyone, but specialized in helping middle-class Negroes negotiate with a travel industry that was at best reluctant to accept their patronage. And that was just half a sentence. But I was thinking about right now, there is a burgeoning group of travelers who are Black single women, and how challenging it's been, speaking as a Black single woman, to kind of tap into that travel industry. There's nothing that that speaks to us or that sees us as viable patronages of their travel groups and what have you. So a lot of Black women, there's a few, but a lot of Black women who have sought to travel abroad have started to create their own groups, and there's these hashtags going around like Traveling While Black or Black Girls Travel, things of that nature, where it's a growing community of single Black women who are championing our desire to see the world, and that it's a good thing, and that we are here, and we're going to trot this earth and put our stamp on every single continent. Even though people sometimes don't think of us as avid travelers, we like to travel. So I think that's all I want to share. Let me make sure that I'm not lying. I did. There's one more thing. On page 23, I noted that there is a monster called the Shoggoth. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is a monster that comes from the Cthulhu mythology. It's like a shape-shifting kind of amoebus character, and it comes up because one of the people who are contributing to this travel guide was traveling in and around New Hampshire and was peeing in the woods when he heard some rustling in the bushes and imagines that it's a show goth. And so I liked this. I like how the author is adding small touches of science fiction while describing and talking about real life, real world situations. And that was just one instance. So I'm gonna stop there. I hope that you guys are enjoying this. If not, that's fine. I'm enjoying making these videos and getting back into YouTube. Please talk to me about the books that you're reading. If you're gonna do this book challenge down below, I would love to communicate with you, encourage you, or just kind of, I don't know, whatever. You tell me what you want to do. Bye.